Beautiful women can make you feel good just by looking at them. You look at a beautiful woman and you feel good. In many cases, you like her right away. And you're thinking, yeah, I'd have sex with her, or even I'd have a relationship with her. And I can tell you, as someone who has slept with a lot of beautiful women and has now settled down with one, that having sex with a beautiful woman feels completely different to having sex with an average looking woman, or even worse, a below average looking woman. It's a completely different experience. Yet for most of my life, beautiful women were out of reach to me. Right, at school, I didn't get picked by the pretty girls because I wasn't handsome. Right, they went for the handsome guys at school. When I grew up and I started going out to bars and clubs and things, beautiful women didn't come over and talk to me, and if I tried to talk to them, they weren't interested in me. And I noticed that they were going for guys who were taller and more good looking. So because of my experiences as an average looking guy, I developed a mindset that became the biggest mistake I ever made with beautiful women. And I fixed that and everything changed. I'll explain that. But the mindset was that I assumed that beautiful women all had the same taste in men. Right? If the woman was beautiful, then she would want to be with a very handsome man. Right? She would want to be with a man who looks like a model. She would want to be with a man who's tall and who has muscles and looks like he could be on the front cover of a magazine. What I eventually realized is that beautiful women have different taste in men. Right? Some beautiful women actually prefer guys who aren't as good looking as them. Now, sometimes it's because the woman wants to feel more safe and secure in the relationship. And sometimes she's had some experiences with a particular type of good-looking guy. Not all good-looking guys are like this, but sometimes she's had experiences with a guy who's a bit more of a pretty boy, and he spends a lot of time and attention on his appearance, and she doesn't like that. She prefers a guy who's a bit more rough around the edges. And in other cases, sometimes a beautiful woman doesn't actually think she's that hot. Right? She's seen herself without makeup, and she knows that she doesn't look like a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 when she doesn't have her makeup on. But when she puts her makeup on, suddenly heads are turning. Guys are looking at her thinking, wow, this girl is beautiful, and women are looking at her feeling a bit jealous at how good she looks. Additionally, sometimes a woman has quite a negative mindset about herself based on how she was raised, the sort of things that she heard about herself, what people said to her, or just what she believes when she compares herself to other women, to the point where she tends to focus on her flaws, or what she sees as her flaws. Right? She doesn't like her thighs, or she doesn't like the way that her tummy sits. Right? She sees other girls with a flat tummy, and hers just pops out a bit, and she doesn't like that. She thinks guys look at her and think that she's fat, but it's just the way that her tummy sits, right? It just sits out a little bit more than other women who have a more flat type of tummy. Alternatively, she might not like her nose, right? Even though guys look at her and think, wow, she is so beautiful, but she doesn't like her nose. She wishes that her nose was a little bit different. It just shaped a bit different, like this other girl that she's seen, or this model that she admires, and so forth. She feels like she has a big nose, or a nose that just isn't as attractive as other girls. So the thing is, what I eventually realized is that beautiful women have different taste in men, and not all beautiful women think that they are a 10 out of 10 and need to have a male model boyfriend. Some beautiful women think that they're just kind of pretty or whatever, and they just want a guy who really likes them, is going to love them, and they're going to have a relationship that works. So what ended up happening is that I was going out every weekend with a friend of mine. I can't show him because he's married now and he doesn't want his wife knowing about what we used to get up to. But we would go out and approach women, and he is a short Asian guy. I'm only 5'9", so I'm fairly short, but he's, I don't know how tall he is, probably 5'6" or something like that. And he has an unusually large head for his size of body, right? So he doesn't look like a male model, right? He is just average like me. Anyway, we would go out to clubs, and because we were trying to figure out how to attract women and have our choice of women, we started going up and talking to beautiful women. And when we were doing it right, in that we were being confident, we were using some humor, we were being charming or charismatic, we were displaying some masculinity and so forth, beautiful women were interested in us. Not all of them though, of course, because we used to go to clubs where models went and footballers and celebrities went and so forth. So there were all these beautiful women in there, and many of them had this fantasy of being with a celebrity guy or a footballer or a model or something like that. And we weren't any of those. But because we were going up and giving ourselves a chance, right, giving ourselves the opportunity to meet a beautiful woman and see if something happened, we were getting laid, right? We were going out and picking up beautiful women. Suddenly I was a guy who was sleeping with beautiful women, and sometimes catwalk models, right? They're very tall women, and I'm only 5'9", but it didn't matter. What happened is that I realized that I'd been making a huge mistake before in assuming that all beautiful women just wanted a very good looking man and that's it, right? And because of that, I used to feel very left out, and I'd look on at the beautiful people, the attractive crowd, and I'd feel like I'm just not like that. I'm not good enough. I don't really fit in with that. I'm not welcome, right? I'm like an outsider compared to them. They all see each other as good looking, handsome, pretty or whatever, and they're all included because of the way that they look. I'm just not like that. And the thing is, at times it made me feel a bit bitter and even a bit angry, right, that I wasn't able to access that. It made me feel a bit angry about the world, right, about how life works. And I was going through life with that anger inside, that frustration, that bitterness. And it was all coming from an incorrect mindset, right, that I had developed based on my experiences, which so many guys do. They have the same sort of mindset where they look at beautiful women and they think, no, she wouldn't want me because I don't look like a male model, right? I'm not tall enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not rich or whatever. Now, something important to point out here is that I didn't just realize that beautiful women had different tastes in men and then it fixed everything. For me personally, it wasn't enough to just realize it, because I'd had a lifetime of experiences where I'd seen women going for the good looking guys, right? At school, they went for the pretty boys, the guys that were obviously good looking. And when I started to grow up and I was trying, I saw it again and again. They were going for the good looking guys. And when I went out to bars and clubs, I tended to notice the beautiful women with handsome men, right? That seemed to make sense for me, right? That was backing up what I had come to believe, right? That you had to be very good looking in order to get a beautiful woman, right? I did what most guys do, where they ignore the guys that they see that aren't good looking with beautiful women. They just say, well, that guy must be rich, or he must have a huge dick, or he must be a celebrity or something. That's the only reason why she would be with him. And that's where most guys stop, right? They say, I can't have a beautiful woman because of whatever excuse they use personally, right? Some guys are tall, but then they say, well, I'm not good looking enough. Some guys have a big dick, but then they say, oh, I'm not rich. Some guys have muscles, but then they say, I'm not good looking, right, in my face or whatever, right? They hold on to something. But the reality is that when you interact with a beautiful woman, if you're able to make her feel some attraction for you by displaying some personality traits and behaviors that are naturally attractive to women, such as confidence, charisma, charm, humor, being masculine, having a bit of a sexual vibe about you, and so on, then many of the beautiful women you meet will actually feel attracted to you and like you and want to be with you. And if you're anything like I used to be, that might be hard for you to believe, right? For me, it wasn't enough for me to realize that beautiful women have different tastes in men, or that some women aren't as confident as they seem, and so forth. It wasn't enough for me to fully feel confident and sure of myself and comfortable and at ease around beautiful women. It wasn't enough. What made the difference was actually kissing these women, having sex with them, having them come over to my apartment and hang out and really like me, dating multiple beautiful women at once, right? Seeing that they actually wanted to be with me. And by doing that for many months and then years of my life, my confidence became stronger and stronger. I got to the point where I knew that if I saw a beautiful woman and she was single, there was a very high chance that I could attract her and hook up with her, right? It's not possible to attract and hook up with every beautiful woman in the world, but it is possible to attract and hook up with most. Eventually, the point I got to before I settled down, and I enjoyed this stage of mastery for a few years before I settled down with my wife, was that I would go out and I would only need to talk to one or 2 women. It was usually 1, but sometimes it was 2, because I got to the point where I could assess, looking at the woman, she is beautiful, she's pretty, and she seems like the sort of woman that I would like. So I would walk over, create a spark with her instantly, start to talk to her, initiate physical touch, and one thing would just lead to another, right? We'd be kissing, or we'd leave and have sex, or I'd get her number and then set up a date and have sex with her on the first date. It was very easy and consistent for me. But sometimes I would go and talk to the first woman that I selected, and I just didn't like her vibe. I just didn't like her intelligence level, or I didn't like something about her. And in that case, I would just say something like, hey, it's been great chatting to you. I'm gonna go talk to my friends. I might talk to you later. And go and hang out with my friends for a bit, and then go talk to another woman and then hook up with her or get her number and set up a date. So in terms of you now, have you ever made that mistake with your mindset, or have you continued to make that mistake to this day, right? Is that how you still think, that if a woman is beautiful, then you have to be really good looking or rich, famous, or whatever in order to get with her? Is that how you think, or how you have been thinking? And how has that been working out for you, right? If you're like most guys who have that sort of mindset, then you're going to feel a bit down about yourself, a bit left out, maybe even a bit bitter towards women and the world, right? You won't like the way that things are working out for you. So at this point, you basically have 3 options, right? 1, just continue on believing that beautiful women only want a very handsome man and that's it, or you have to be rich and famous to get with her. 2, you believe it because it makes sense and you can see that it's real, right? You can see the evidence. You've seen guys who you look at and think that guy's not good looking, but he has a pretty girlfriend. You've seen it yourself, right? You can understand it, but then you don't do anything about it, right? You're one of those guys who just says, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that a guy doesn't have to be good looking in order to get a pretty girlfriend, but it's not going to work for me because whatever excuse you want to hold on to, right? You can be one of those guys. Or 3, you can understand and see that it works, right? You've seen the evidence, you understand it, it makes sense, and then you learn how to attract a woman during a conversation, and then you do that when you're interacting with beautiful women, and then you begin having sex and relationships with beautiful women. You begin to experience those results. So which one of those applies most to you? Which is going to be you? Right? What are you going to do? If you've been feeling the kind of negative emotions that I used to experience, feeling left out, feeling a bit down and depressed, and even feeling a bit bitter and angry at times, then I hope for your sake and for your life that you choose option number 3. You understand it, you believe that you can do it, then you learn how to do it, you do it, and you experience the results. If you want to learn exactly what I discovered, what to say, how to interact with her at the start to create a spark of attraction, how to rapidly build on her attraction and make her want you sexually and romantically, then I recommend that you read my ebook, The Flow, or listen to the audiobook version. You can use it on beautiful women, pretty women, average women, and below average looking women. Whatever you like, whatever you prefer is fine, but what you'll find is that when you use the flow technique, when interacting with a woman that you find attractive, she will feel sparks of attraction for you. She will like you. She will want you. And all you've got to do is guide her through a very simple process that I call the flow, and everything will flow from one step to the next. You'll effortlessly flow from hello to a kiss, sex, and into the start of a relationship. One final thing that I want to point out in this video is that you'll sometimes hear people say things about this topic that cause you to lose confidence, right? You'll overhear a woman saying, I only like handsome guys, or you'll hear some guy saying that, women only go for good looking guys, he's seen it, and so forth, right? It can easily start to mess with your confidence if you don't truly understand this stuff, right? So what I recommend is that you always just focus on the fact that you have seen and continue to see guys that you look at and think, hang on, how did he get her? You look at him and think he doesn't have the same sort of looks as her physically, right? She's better looking than him. What is she doing with him? Just understand that not all beautiful women have the same taste in men, and not all beautiful women are as confident as you may assume. Additionally, sometimes a beautiful woman has only gone for handsome kind of men, but then she meets a guy who makes her feel so amazing based on how confident he is, what type of humor he uses, how charming or charismatic he is, and she falls in love with him because of how she feels around him, because of how he makes her feel. So when you see a woman that you find attractive, don't count yourself out automatically and think you can't get her because of whatever excuse you hold on to. Just understand that there is an opportunity for you. There's a chance. And if you know how to attract women when you talk to them, you know how to go through the flow process, for example, then it's an almost certainty every time. If you can't deal with those odds of having an almost certain result every time, then you're going to probably just accept whatever you can get, which is almost certainly not going to be the kind of woman you really want, right? So if you can just have the courage to give yourself a chance, you'll see that many of the beautiful women you interact with actually like you, feel attracted to you, open up to you, and you can then move things forward with them.